today we're talking with Tim Chaney. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, Stephanie.
So Tim Chaney is the founder of Ammo City, an agency for independents set up to represent them under tough market conditions. Tim was previously head of US Gold and then president at Virgin Games Interactive. Tim was one time voted as one of the top 15 most influential people in the games industry. What he doesn't know about the business is not worth knowing. Tim, welcome. It's super exciting to have you here with us for the Business of Indie Game Summit. That's like it's quite a bio you've got there.
Well, thanks, Steph. It's pretty humbling, actually. But
US Gold was legendary. First of all, can you tell us the story there and how it came to dominate Europe?
Yeah, I joined US Gold from Commodore. I joined Commodore for the launch of the VIC-20, and then we had the Commodore 64, which were, in my opinion, like the kind of the purple period of the evolution of this industry, because until those two machines came in, it was really was a hobbyist business. For a short period of time, I did software in Commodore, which is a bit of a bottomless pit because our software is crap. But it got me out to the software distributors, and one of those was Centresoft, who was not particularly big at the time, and they just started an offshoot, publishing offshoot called US Gold, which the basic principle of the business was to get American product, which was on disc in America, and launch the products in Europe on cassette, which sometimes meant 8 cassettes or 10 cassettes, because putting a disc on a cassette wasn't an easy thing. And they'd had a hit with Beachhead, which was the first game they launched, actually. And they invited me to become managing director. So in a way, I was like employee number one, although there was a distributor behind the company. I've just written a chapter for David Pleasance's upcoming book about Commodore, about the early days of Commodore, before he came, about the Tramiel days. You know, business is war. You don't have competitors. You only have enemies, and that kind of mentality we had. And going to US Gold and going up to Birmingham was the beginning of that. And US Gold, I say, it started with this basic principle: get American Commodore 64 product that was on disc, and we didn't sell any discs in Europe. It was like buying a fridge. I mean, it's like as big as a fridge. That wasn't quite, but it's a big piece of kit and too expensive. And really, by 1986, I'm not sure anyone was interested in the 80s, really, but that's when it all started. This industry started in the 80s. I mean, you could go back and say it started with the Atari 2600, which is, I suppose, true. But in terms of really a games business, multiple publishers, multiple formats, it started in the 80s. And we, by 1986, as I was saying, we had about 80% of the entire US games software at US Gold. So we were big very quickly. I mean, we had games like Summer Games, Winter Games, Dam Busters, Hardball, Bruce Lee. I mean, we had just hit after hit. That market evolved a bit in 87 to arcade games, coin-ops, as we used to call them. And then we just hammered that as well. We had Roadrunner, Street Fighter, Thunderblade, 720 Degrees, and Outrun, which became a massive hit, and Gauntlet, which started it all. So it grew very fast. And behind us, we had Centresoft, which in the same period of time grew from being this kind of small distributor in Birmingham to number one in Europe. So we had the kind of power of a distributor behind the power of a publisher. So we were pretty formidable. I mean, we were there to win, and certainly my kind of Commodore attitude of war is business, and things like that, made us incredibly aggressive, and it was a really good time. I mean, I left the company in '89. By then, it had become a bit formulaic. You know, and I was offered a position not a position. I was offered an opportunity to start my own company with an American group. And I took that because I think I'd done all I could do in a corporation. I mean, US Gold became the first company to go public on the London stock market a couple of years later.
Wow.
That's Commodore, and that's US Gold.
And so,
In a nutshell. In a nutshell.
Yeah, of course. And so, talking about Virgin, you know, you sold Virgin Games, you sold for billions, but then they paid you to take it back. How did that work?
Well, we didn't sell it for billions. That would have been great. Because
Right.
I was a small equity owner. It was sold for $250 million.
Oh, sure.
Which at the time, in 1994, was about the highest price ever paid for a games publisher. And we sold it to Blockbuster. You remember videos when you used to go into a shop and buy a video?
I remember.
Take it home and watch it and take it back the next day, that kind of thing.
You could rent games from Blockbuster too.
That's what Blockbuster did. I mean, eventually you could.
Yeah.
But they bought us, I think, because of CD-ROM. CD-ROM at the time was, excuse me, coming through. And anyway, we were bought by Blockbuster. They left us alone. They didn't mess around with us at all, which was great. Because normally big corporations mess around with the companies they buy. But then Blockbuster in '86 was bought by Viacom. Viacom, owners of Paramount, MTV, Simon & Schuster, just gigantic American media corporation. And they just written off $100 million with their own endeavors in games publishing. Because around that time, a lot of people were coming into games. A lot of big corporations were trying to get into the games business. And it's not hard for corporates for these kind of companies to understand games. It's a strange beast. It's not something people watch. It's something people interact with. And it has to hold them for hours and hours and hours. We can all watch a film and say, fantastic film, but you know, a game is different, and they just didn't get it anyway. So we were put under Viacom, or we were inside Viacom. They didn't like the business much. You know, we were sucking lots of cash because we were trying to really push the envelope out in terms of gains. And in '97, they put us on the block to sell us. So I spent a year going around to publishers, often smaller than Virgin, to be honest, trying to sell the business, and they couldn't sell it because Virgin, again, it was a really strange animal because at the time 75% of the world's of the kind of global business, forget the Far East for the time being and forget Japan, came out of the US. So most companies were 75% US, 25% Europe. We were different. We were 75% Europe. We had this massive distribution infrastructure. We were number one in Germany, France, UK, along with Electronic Arts. And so it didn't fit with anybody. In the end, Viacom sold off our principal games assets, which at the time was Command and Conquer, to Electronic Arts. They closed down the American office in about 4 nanoseconds, and I did a management buyout. Or I started trying to do a management buyout of the European business, which didn't have so many products because a lot of the best stuff had gone to Electronic Arts, EA, as they now call themselves. Well, same thing. And during that process, they said, you know, we want X million for the company. And me and my partner at the time, Mark Dine, who was one of the founders of Skype, big American deal maker extraordinaire, said, no, you give us money and we'll take it away from you. And they said, go and boil your heads, because we're never going to do that. We're Viacom. In the end, they did give us $15 million to take it away. I mean, it didn't go in our pockets, it went to the company. But they conceded, they gave us the money. So what did we have then? We had a company with massive distribution, the best brand in the market, because Virgin, you could do a lot with it. I mean, we broke every rule on marketing. We had 9 successive marketing campaigns banned by the Advertising Standards Authority. We were really trying to just say, what's gone before is, it's like old stuff. We're going to take this, this is kind of Virgin, we're going to do something different with this. And we did. And then people copied us, and we had a lot of people trying to do what we did. But, it's hard to do what Virgin did without the brand Virgin. But anyway, so they gave us 15 million. We did a joint venture with Interplay, another American company based in Southern California, and they had the product, we had the infrastructure. We banged the two together, and in the first year we became profitable with that constellation. And then myself and Mark sold the company to Titus the next year, which is a French public company that raised a load of money. Because at the time, the Paris bourse was going mental on video games, and we sold the company to Titus, and I took a 2.5-year golden parachute, which meant, if you stay and don't compete with us, we could be a lot of money. In the end, I converted that into buying one of the Virgin offices in Spain, Virgin Interactive Entertainment in Spain. Bought that in 2002. And the rest is history or not history, it depends.
Sure. So what is the current, for indie developers now that are looking to, I suppose, connect with publishers with the games that they're developing, what does the current publishing landscape look like? What are publishers looking for, and how much of a game do you need to have to be able to give a publisher before you can get a commitment from them?
I can only really generalize on this because every case is different. In the work I do now, I reach out to about 400 publishers on behalf of indie development studios, a very kind of high level, on the basis that I'd rather go in high and get pushed down or rejected. Because if you're rejected, you're going to get rejected when you get to the top anyway. So you might as well get that over and done with. And if you get pushed down, you get pushed down by people in power and authority. So people pick it up. And I say every case is different. Some people some publishers think, oh, this game's going to be great for them. They're going to love this. And you don't hear from them again. And some you think these guys are not going to be interested in this, and they are. The publishers are constantly evolving. They're constantly evolving, to market trends, to competition. So you never really know. I don't think there's a black and white answer to that. It's just 50 shades of grey.
Are there particular things you need to know when dealing with a publisher as an indie developer? What sort of approach should they take with them? Because I can imagine that a sizable publisher would be quite daunting to approach.
Yeah, I don't think. There's this, there's this expression that publishers are the evil empire. They don't set out to screw you. That's not the original intention. In many ways, development studios kind of screw themselves because they overpromise and then don't deliver. And if you get into that situation, then you're going to have problems because they've given you a load of money, they've got nothing for the money, so there's going to be a price to pay for that. They also have to accept that studios also have to accept that you're going to lose creative control, or some creative control. Nobody's going to give you a load of money and let you sit around in a room in wherever, Croatia, and do what you want. They're going to want the game that they think they bought. But basically, it falls down into several kind of segments of that. The initial submission is the key thing. It has to be short. It has to have assets inside it. People are not going to read much. People are not. I'm talking about publishers. They're not going to go through the whole websites about stuff. They're going to want to see what they want to see. The team has to have some credibility. That's sometimes the hardest thing now, because if you're a bunch of young lads, guys or girls, who want to, making a product, and you may have wonderful skill sets. If you haven't done it before, that's like a red flag. Because they want to see what you've done. So the group really has to have some credibility. It only needs one person to have it, but it needs somebody in there, even as an advisor, that they say, oh, that guy knows what he's talking about. So he's going to keep them right, steer them right. You have to listen. because they're going to give you feedback. And if you think, oh, what are these guys talking about? That's not the game we want to do. Well, then you better, try someone else then, because you have to listen. Timing is always important. Right place, right time. You can't get better than that. You have to make it easy for the publisher. He has to see what the offer is, see what the game's going to be, what it is now, and know pretty quickly whether the company is going to be interested in it or not. So nothing vague, nothing too adventurous that they don't think you can make. That's one of the big really, it goes to that kind of credibility thing. If you say I'm going to make this, and they look at the team and say the team won't make that, can't make that, then you're not going to get past that. And you've got to talk to the right people. And as I said, I always go high and come low rather than go low and trying to work your way up that, bureaucratic, political process. It's preparation, approach, presentation, verification, because there's no hiding place now.
Yeah.
It's not like the good old days when a bunch of guys are coming and say we're going to build that, and you say, oh yeah, great, let's sign them up. You can see everything. You can see, go to LinkedIn, you go to Facebook, you go to Twitch, you can see everything. And it's pretty much a full-time job when it gets going, because if you get a few publishers interested, and it's a numbers game, it really is a numbers game, then they can ask you for a lot of stuff that you probably hadn't thought of and hadn't prepared, even though you had prepared. It probably won't be enough.
So with things like, I suppose, like a multi-platform engine like Unity, indies can develop and self-publish easily. So what is the benefit, what is the value of working with publishers as opposed to releasing independently?
Well, like anything, there's pros and cons. The cons are loss of some creative control, margin. You're going to give away a lot of margin to a publisher who's then got to distribute it. So there's two pieces of that pie that have got to come out of the cake, of the pie. It's really about the community. It's about the community, and it's about marketing dollars. Unless you're having a completely amazing game that rocks the world, you just won't get enough viral or organic reach to get the numbers you want. So it comes down to money, and the publisher will have money, and they will have the community already there for their own games. You imagine pick a publisher, Take-Two, with Grand Theft Auto. How big's their community? I don't know. 20 million? I don't know. But if that's there waiting for you, that gives you a launch pad. If you're starting on the launch pad with 0 millions, i.e. zero, nothing, then it's a lot of hard work. So, what you're giving away the margin for is their community, their skill. I mean, their distribution power, pure power. If you've got huge brands, you've got power in this business, like in film and in music, and marketing, money. You can't launch a product without money, I don't think. People that want to self-publish, I always say to them, and they have, fantastic decks and fantastic aspirations, and I say, where's the money? Marketing it. And they say, no, we'll build it for you. Okay. That could take a long time. That could take 6 months, a year, if the game is wonderful. If it's less than wonderful, then forget it, it's gone.
Are there any particular sort of out-of-the-box opportunities that indie developers can look out for? Maybe opportunities in China, or maybe VR potential, mixed reality? We've talked about work for hire in some of our other interviews as well.
I don't think there is really. I mean, we all talk about China because the market's so immense. Access in China, it's really hard work. I mean, I reach out to like 60 Chinese publishers, Tencent, NetEase, Chaney, all the major ones. And, first of all, they look at it as a Chinese product. So is it going to work in China? So that comes down to graphics for a start. What does it look like? And okay, you've got Western graphics in it. Could we put Chinese kind of graphics in it? Yeah. They're not going to be very keen. I mean, I don't think there is. A VR, AR, mixed reality, yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, but there hasn't been a killer app. There hasn't been a games product that's really moved the shit, really shifted it to, oh my God, what's that? And, it's been games with some VR added, which is normally you behind a gun, right? Actually, I think VR, I think other industries will embrace that faster than games. I mean, medical and other things. But I don't think there's no quick wins. There's no quick wins.
How far along do you think a game needs to be in its development cycle before a publisher picks it up? Like, what is the sort of ideal scenario?
Oh, ideal doesn't happen very often, but ideal would be a nearly finished game.
Right.
Or a game that's far enough to really see what the skill of the studio is. Almost certainly, you need a playable. A publisher will watch a video of you playing the game. There's various sites that run those kind of things, but the next thing they're going to ask you for is send us a playable so we can play it, and then they send it out to groups that try and smash it to pieces. Not literally, but is it holding together? Is the engine any good? And the other thing that it's almost like a secondary thing is monetization. Maybe in a minute we'll talk about MOBAs versus Steam and consoles, but how's it going to monetize? Have you thought about how you're going to monetize? And they say, oh yeah, we're going to sell body shells, we're going to sell guns, we're going to sell this, we're going to do that. Yeah, but you've got to get people to put their money in their pocket. I'll take the money out of their pocket and give it to you to put a different face on or to buy. It's okay with GTA, because they're experts at it. I keep picking on that because when I watch my son, who's 17, playing GTA, I'm agog with what's happening there. I mean, I just amazed by other things as well. Fortnite is another one, and when I watch FIFA, it's like watching telly. In fact, the games he plays on FIFA are usually better than the games that are on telly, to be honest. It's those things really.
You've said that having the right team is really important. What do you think are the top 5 attributes that a good team needs? You mentioned that you need some experience and stuff. It's difficult for people that are first starting out, but are you maybe looking to kind of fill out your team with a mixture of people that are just starting and maybe someone who has more experience?
Well, definitely the latter. As I said to you earlier, credibility is a key. If it's a bunch of guys, girls that haven't made a game before, that have no track record of making a game before, have no track record of earning any money out of games before, you're really going to struggle. So the attributes are the fact that, you can put together a good business plan. Because somebody's going to say, what's your business plan? And if it's some complete bullshit that is incredible, you can cross off that one. We'll cross it off that way. They're going to want to see good art, early on. They're going to want to see the fact that you understand the market you're going into. You can't say, well, I've got a great product. Forget about the competition, because the competition are there. They're waiting for you. They're waiting to gobble you up. They're waiting to spit you out. So you have to really know the market sector you're going after and what's out there. You really have to know what's out there, because you can't do it in a kind of in isolation of the market. And the market moves so fast. You have to try and say, well, okay, you look at product now and your game is a year away. What are those games a competition going to look like in a year from now or 2 years from now? And they've got billions or millions, hundreds of millions to invest in making the game and marketing the game. So it has to be some business acumen. It has to be, I think, a lot of business acumen. Nobody wants, no publisher's going to really, well, they may take on a team that they don't think has got much business acumen, but then they're going to control it, and they just say, go over there and make the game and shut up.
So would you say that a detailed business plan is then probably the best way to kind of show that a team really knows what they're doing? How are they best able to kind of communicate that?
Well, it's one of many things, Stephanie, and they're going to ask for it. It's on the list. Playable. Okay, so we like the playable. It works well. What's the business plan? And then you get down to the kind of nitty gritty, because you do. It looks at monetization. It looks at how much you think you're going to spend making this game, whether the expenditure is appropriate for the game, and it tells people whether you know what you're talking about. To be honest, and you know, I mean, I when I get business plans and then I put them forward to publishers, of course, there's usually heavy editing on it, because I look at these business plans, and I'm not a great expert, but I look at these business plans with the publisher's eyes and know the things they're going to look at and say, you know, what's that? What's that thing there? We're not going to, you know, and it's common sense. It's all about common sense. It's 90% common sense. You know, the assets, you know, have to be right, and that includes the business plan.
Do you ever consider representing teams that maybe don't have much experience but are just really creative and driven?
No, because normally they can't pay.
Right.
Right. Which is, you know, I don't work on it. You know, you know, it's a personal thing. You know, and they'll be bootstrapped, and I respect that immensely. I respect a bunch of guys in a room, and I've got a client now that's been working on the game for nearly 3 years. They haven't taken a penny out of the business. It's all passion, love, but they do have an engine they created 5 or 6 years ago, which is valued at a lot of money. But you know, so I don't do kind of seed stuff, because it's just too, you know, if you want, you know, if you're looking for seed, true seed beyond friends and family and whatever you can chip in yourself, you know, you really should be looking at crowdfunding, although that's starting to get, it's not so strong on games as it was 5 years ago, certainly. Local government, local initiatives, enterprise schemes, all those things, because that's where the money is for that. A publisher, you know, I mean, they're just not going to, if you think of games publishers, and I'm really focusing on what we call AAAs, the big guys, and then there's, you know, another 250 that are not that, but they're, you know, they're not going to come in at that level. They're just not. So I think you've got to get past that, and it's proof of concept. You know, crowdfunding and all those other local government incentives, which there's loads in every country now. They will get you to a proof of concept. They should get you to a point when you can go to a publisher and say, I've worked on this for 6 months with this guy's money, and you can play it now. And then you know, you're up to, you're getting that kind of asset pack together. I mean, I call the company Ammo City because of ammunition. If you haven't got, if you know, you need an Exocet missile when you go in there. You know, not a machine gun, because there's a lot of Exocets waiting for you to come their way, kind of thing.
Publishers often have a bit of a bandwagon attitude to jumping on board with a market fashion. Obviously, with the recent success with the PUBG and Fortnite, you know, I'm very curious to see how many battle royale modes we'll see at E3 this year. I mean, is that your experience? Are there particular genres? Because I guess when you start developing a game, you know, 2-3 years from now, if it's finished, who knows what that market trend is going to be.
Yeah, I think this is where we're going to talk a little bit about MMOs and MOBAs. If you're following a fashion, you've got to bear in mind where that fashion is going to be in a couple of years' time, because fashion is fashion and style is style. Style never goes out of style, right? So, you know, in the last 5, maybe a bit longer, 6 or 7 years now, you know, you've had this evolution of the MMO and MOBA market, free to play, and and it's jetting towards a market value of about $30 billion now. And that's the kind of that's kind of fashionable. But look who's out there waiting for you. League of Legends, Dota 2, and lots of other products. But talking about fashion, so if you're in that market, you've got to see what's out there now and where that's going to be in a couple of years. And is it still going to be fashionable? And I think that market definitely is, and it's going to grow actually a lot. And where will you be in 2 years? Because they've got maybe 500 programmers, developers on the team. You've got 4. They've got $1 billion in the bank, and you've got nothing, maybe a little bit. I think style comes into it when you talk about the other formats: Steam, products distributed in Steam, console products, Switch products. Because if you look at the output of games on those formats, those game styles have been around for 20, 30 years, well, certainly 20. A lot of the biggest games in the world today were the biggest games in the world in early 2000s. Again, except in MOBAs and MMOs. So when you go to that market, it's stylized. That consumer base knows the kind of product it likes, knows what it wants to play, and as long as you are elevating the style to a kind of new level, you can compete. With MMO and MOBA, of course, you're creating a product that's one, it's free to play. A lot of publishers don't like free to play, and two, there's some big competition out there. I mean, it doesn't matter. Competition comes and goes. I don't get the impression a lot of the competition that's there now is going to go very far. If you look at Battlefields, PlayerUnknown, things like that. I mean, they are billions. I don't know if you've seen They Are Billions is another one. It's just, how are you going to make? I mean, how are you going to make that? Where's that going to be in 2 years? But anyway, again, to answer your question, I'm waffling a bit here. Fashion, you've got to be very careful because it's moving fast. Style never goes out of style.
Do you think when it comes to development that virtual teams stand a chance, or do teams really need to be in the same room together?
I come against this a lot. Generally speaking, publishers don't like virtual teams. Although there has been some amazing games built by virtual teams. One is They Are Billions. It's got 2 people working for it. The rest is all virtual. They really like a studio to be in one place. I mean, again, it depends on the evolution and where you are in the kind of cycle of the game. You may not have that in the beginning, and that's why that will not be a tick in the box when you go to a publisher that you've got 2 guys in San Francisco, you've got 1 in Iceland, you've got 1 in Vietnam, you've got 2 in Sydney. Yeah, people really like teams to be in one place. That's the truth. It's not impossible, but it's not a tick in the box initially if you say I've got guys all over the world working for me.
What about outsourcing? Are there good strategies for that? Not just for translation and localization, but also things like art and audio?
Yeah, I mean, I do some work in that. People do it. I mean, I think particularly art. I think art is the big outsourcing opportunity because there's a lot of great artists and there's a lot of competitively priced art. We know where it's coming from. Of course, it's coming from India and it's coming from the Philippines and lots of places, South America. There's a lot of places that do that. I think art is the most attractive thing to outsource. You can't really outsource user interfaces much. The design is going to be yours. It's going to be the publisher's. So what's he going to outsource? He's going to outsource the development. I mean, I've got clients that do third-party development. So it happens. It definitely happens. But I think art is the easiest, most accessible outsourcing function.
Is there any advice you can give, I guess, indies to deal with rejection? I mean, how do you regroup after you've been rejected from a publisher? Is that, I guess, is it just about listening to feedback and then kind of regrouping?
I think the first thing is to see why you've been rejected. Right? And that could be a lot of things. It could be the team. It could be market that you're trying to attack, the genre, which publishers don't want. You know, I say most publishers don't want MMOs and MOBAs. They want games they can put on Steam and put on Sony and Xbox. So, you know, then you have to ask yourself, okay, I mean, if you're being rejected, one, again, listen. If people give you I mean, what happens really in reality is most people reject out of hand. They say, it's not for us, not now, whatever. And that's some publishers, and I respect them enormously for doing this, will send you, you know, an A4 page of why they've rejected it, what they don't like, why it doesn't fit, what they're worried about. And that's fantastic. That's fantastic feedback for, I mean, it comes with a rejection at the end of the day. So you're going to say, oh God, I've been rejected, but they're going to tell you why. So and publishers should do that more. You know, just say, you know, because these development companies, if we want the business to evolve, if we believe that the indie development sector will bring great games into the market, which it will, at these early stages, relatively early stages, tell them what's wrong. Now, it's your opinion. It's your version of what's wrong. Somebody else could do a rejection and send a page of A4 and say completely different things, you know. So the best advice I can, you know, is one: if you get rejected, ask. Got to find out why. If people say whatever, don't like it, we're not in it. Okay, we've got too much about that, and then you've got to kind of tune, you know, the presentation, and that's what we do. I mean, that's what we have to do, because sometimes I've sent presentations out on behalf of developers, and I think this is an amazing presentation, and I've read it, and I think it's great. Other people have read it and think, don't want this game, so, and they tell you why, and you think, oh yeah, we did that wrong, we didn't do that right, we should have done that. You know, expect to be rejected. Expect, let's say it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, so expect to be rejected 50-1.
Yeah.
If what people bother to reject you at all and don't just leave it, don't answer it. Which again, maybe I'm a bit old school, but I think if somebody contacts you and sends you assets and you're not interested, saying sorry, I'm not interested is the basic thing, and I say better than that is sorry, we're not interested because this, or you know, I'd like to say, you know, I'd like publishers to prove they actually looked at the game, they actually read documentation. You know, sometimes you don't know really. I mean, you can put obviously tracking things, see if people have opened links, which I do. You can open a link and not do anything with it. But you know, rejection is it's part of the course. We all get rejected, right? We get rejected when we, you know, we go, you know, every day of our lives, something, you know, not everything goes our way, so you've got to expect it.
So I guess it's just really about pushing for that feedback, and so that you can identify the problems. And
I ask for it. If people reject and they don't tell me why they reject it, I do try and eke it out of them. It's normally a very simple thing. It's normally, we're not doing this type of game. It's too early. We don't deal with distributed studios. I mean, those are the kind of three things that really everything's based on. We don't do MOBAs. We don't do mobile games. If it's a mobile, I don't do much in mobile game. I mean, it's just like a bloody nightmare, that market. It's just too much product. You can't see the wood for the trees. And then when you get it on iTunes, it's not in the trees anymore. It's a forest like the Amazon. You go, how many games is that? 40 games a week or something? I don't know what the number is now. So yeah, you just have to keep on pushing until somebody says go away. No, they don't say go away. I've only been told once to. But you know, you've got to try and get feedback, because otherwise you're stuck. You don't know what anyone thinks, and you only know what you think, and you think your products are fantastic, but not everybody else does. So there's some work to do there, right?
Well, you must have a few hairy stories, I suppose, working in the industry at a high level over many years, maybe both good and bad. Are there cautionary tales or things that spring to mind?
You're going into the dark recesses of my mind there, Steph. I mean, there's so many. I mean, in fact, I was going to. I thought about. I activated a Kickstarter campaign 2 years ago to write about Virgin in the 90s, and because say we were completely hedonistic. We were there to, just beat everybody, and do things that nobody else had done. But my campaign got scuppered by people who were worried about what I was going to write. And
right.
Because most of those guys are now parents with children. And it's not all about, sex, drugs and video games, but, and it certainly wasn't a kill your friends book. It's going to be about business more than anything else. But I mean, there's those stories, and some of them are legendary, and you can see them on the internet, and they've been covered by people, bits and pieces at times. It was certainly the Virgin period was one of immense fun, winning the way you wanted to win. And I was very lucky at Virgin. I took over a company that was a $1 million company. We got it up to 200 million in 3 years. Then it was sold to Blockbuster, and I got some fantastic people like Sean Brennan, who's currently the European president of Bethesda. I just had great people that shared that kind of vision. And I had no problem. I had no problem with anarchy at all. I think anarchy is okay in business. But nowadays you can't do it, because nowadays we would just be sued, lambasted, blogged to death. Everything we did, that was good fun. But one day I may write the memoir, but it's a lot of work. I'm not going to do it unless somebody pays me to do it.
Sure. If you had your time again, would you do anything differently, do you think?
There were some things out of my control. I couldn't have done anything differently. I mean, the Viacom thing with Virgin, I mean, that kind of damaged the company a lot, because everybody knew we were for sale. And people we were representing a lot of people at the time: LucasArts, GT, Interactive, which were a major player at the time, Microsoft, a lot of people. I suppose when I go beyond Virgin, I did the management buyout for a Spanish company, and that was basically destroyed by the 2008 economic crisis. It had about 4 million of unsecured debt. There was no money available in the markets. I went back to London, started a new company called Zatica with Mark Opsuma, who was formerly the managing director of Yahoo in Europe. We raised 1.25 million seed. Then we raised 5.5 million seed. And then the shareholders wanted us to go and raise 50 million. And we were a young company. We just started 2 years before. We nearly got it, by the way. We nearly got it, but we didn't get it. And of course we couldn't get 50 million. We moved to become a public company, and that just wasn't right. We weren't ready for that. And that failed. And I think because of the aggression. And this is another message for indie developers, really. If you start bringing venture capital into your company, if you start bringing private equity more so into your company, or you bring obviously high net worths into your company as shareholders, aspirationally they will be pushing you much harder and faster than you really want to go, or probably even can go. And that's what happened with Zatica. We were going, we're doing okay. We raised money again. But then the word was, now go and get 50 million and buy 7 companies. In the end, we got 20 million and bought 4. and 2 of them failed. So if I had that time again, I'd have said, stop. let's use the 5.5 million. Let's, try and establish ourselves. This is 2010, 11, 12, 13. At the time, we were all competing with Farmville. Every meeting you went to, someone says, "Is your game? Are your games like Farmville or Angry Birds?" No. Oh well, not interested in. Now look at Farmville. Where is that? But that's when you talk about fashion. You see, in 2010, 11, 12, we were all fashion was Farmville, and we were all running after Farmville, and then Farmville died a death right after they went public, basically, and that style of game is still around, but it wasn't a style that was so impregnated into the mind of core gamers that they couldn't go somewhere else after it. They couldn't move across. And that and RPG kind of evolved into MMO and MOBA. But say if you were building a Farmville product now, you'd have a struggle. I think trying to raise money for it. Some say, oh, it's like Farmville. That was 2009. Get it. So long way of saying, yeah. I think in 2010 to 12, we were pushed too hard to raise too much money, too short period of time, and it killed the company because it couldn't deliver against that kind of money.
If you could give 3 pieces of advice to developers that are trying to get ahead and I guess grow their studio, what would you say to them?
Don't be naive about your business plan. Because even if you do a base, let's call it a base business plan, the publisher won't believe it. If you do some outlandish thing that says you're going to be the next, Clash of Clans or something, then they'll think you're silly. So build don't be naive about the business. Don't be naive about how hard it is to compete in this business. You can make money. There's a lot of publishers that evolved out of indie developers, and I can list 20 here that are making lots of money. But they probably did it organically with a great product, and then maybe one other great product. So you've got be realistic about what you can do, and be realistic about your skill set. Don't pretend you can make something you can't, because people will see through it. As I said earlier, there's no hiding place here. I can look on LinkedIn, I can see what you've done in the past, or I can ask you, what have you done in the past? And you're going to tell me, because don't tell me, as a publisher, I'm not going to give you any money. So, expect to be really transparent, expect, to be someone, if they're interested, that's the first tick in the box. Yes, they may be mild interest. So then dig and see what's really there. And I say you can't say, oh yeah, we've got a team in Bali. Do you want to visit them? No, we don't. Make it real. Make it real. Anticipate rejection. Don't get uptight about rejection. There's 3,000 games out there I can find in the next 10 minutes but looking for money. You're one of the 3,000, and you've got a chance, like everyone's got a chance. You'll need a bit of luck, and that comes from timing, getting to the right people at the right time, and live with that, because that's how it's going to be. There's no quick wins. And the evolution of the indie games business has been incredible the last five or 6 years. And of course, you have something like Steam sitting there with, I don't know what the user base is now, 170 million, the last number I think I heard, but maybe I don't know. You've got Sony sitting there. You've got the market is there, and you can get your product there. But once it's there, something miraculous has to happen for anybody else to see it. And just on that quick subject of Steam, a lot of developers think that getting Steam Early Access and putting a product on Steam before they have the money is a good idea. It certainly gets you showcased. You certainly could pick up somebody that sees it accidentally. They won't find it. Why should they find it? 6,000 new games a year. Some publishers won't be interested if it's already on Steam, because there'll be comments. You may have even started charging for it as well. So they've got to pick up a game that probably has failed in commercial terms. It's about creativity, of course, but it's really about a commercial end result. If a publisher gives you, pick a number, $100,000, he's going to want to make 5 or 10 times that on your product. He's not going to want to make $110,000 back. So they've got to take your product and multiply it by 5 or 10 to make it worthwhile than even looking at it. If they can't do that, what are you going to do? They're not going to be interested. Nobody's going to give them. Nobody's going to promote them for getting 10% margin on 100,000 they just spent with a game that they waited for 2 years. In fact, the opposite. They're going to get demoted.
Well, Tim, thank you so much. It's been so wonderful and informative and so interesting to hear about all of your experiences. And thank you so much for your advice and for your time today.